Welcome back everyone to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. Today you are looking at a jar of 99% isopropyl alcohol, some cotton swabs, an unplugged sewing machine, which you should always, and we should always remind ourselves to unplug our machines before we're going to work on them. Never have your machine plugged in when you're doing anything to it except sewing. Now, you will also see a screwdriver and an upside down foot pedal. This, of course, is the foot pedal to my amazing and wonderfully retro and vintage white sewing machine, model number 568, and you'll see it right there. There's a you'll see they would put their model and serial number plates right on the front there, and they're riveted. They were meant to stay. I think later sewing machine companies would use decals, adhesive stickers or what have you. But today, now that I have given quite a lot of overhaul time to the machine, I wanted to turn your attention to this foot pedal. Now, I overhauled the foot pedal on a white straight stitch Singer clone machine. That was the one that I had the unusual light bulb, which might trick you into thinking it was a tension assembly. But of course, this machine, I believe, came out around the same time. I think this particular model, the 568 that I'm referring to right now, I think it might have come out a year or two later. It's the same color scheme, but obviously this zigzagger would have cost more money if you were willing to invest. All right, so this is a foot pedal. They are often color coded. If your machine does not have a foot pedal that looks like this, or let's say it does look like this, but it's a different color, there's a chance it was replaced at some point. These foot pedals can wear out, but that's typically not what happens to them. Sometimes someone unintentionally drops them, and inside of these foot pedals from this era you find porcelain. Porcelain is a fantastic insulator for things electric, and it also tolerates heat very well because heat does get created in these devices, and if it's been dropped or if it's had other damage, whatever that might be, what will happen is it needs to be replaced. And so if you have one of a different color that's similar shape, made of metal, chances are that's what happened. There's no harm there. But it is kind of fun to have a turquoise foot pedal along with your turquoise machine or whatever color coordination that you've got. Now, what you also may see is a pedal that was updated, and it's not even made of metal. Maybe it's made of plastic. It could be a white branded, like the machine, but more than likely a generic brand of electronic pedal, because electronic pedals can be fitted to these machines and they work quite well. You just want to make sure that the amperage that is noted on the back of the foot pedal, and it should be there, it'll say usually it'll have a number and then a big large letter A for amps. You want to make absolutely sure that the amperage on the pedal is the same or higher than the amperage on the motor. That's just a good general rule of thumb, and it's usually not a big deal to find such things. So with your foot pedal unplugged, this one is, and again, while it could be a carbon pile, I don't know if this sound is picking up on the microphone, but I'm pushing the pedal, and there's a rubbing that I can feel, and I'm pretty sure that this is a rheostat style pedal, and that's perfectly fine. I know that in the past, sometimes these pedals, for reasons that are not clear to me, don't always give the greatest needle control, meaning even when you're trying to get the needle to move slowly, it might not. It's not always a smooth thing. However, and even though I have commented on a number of occasions that I think carbon pile pedals potentially, underscore that word, potentially, have the ability to give you better slow needle control, that's not universally the case because the last, in fact, it was turquoise, but it doesn't matter. The last rheostat pedal that I cleaned and inspected, it worked fine and you had good needle control. So I'm not sure why some of them were calibrated different. I suspect they left the factory that way because I'm not sure of anything a person could do to cause issues with that unless there was damage to the foot pedal in some way. All right, so what you've all been waiting for, I'm going to show you how I'm going to access this. It will be similar to the other pedal, but I never know what I'm going to find until I open it up. Now, there are two slots here on the back end, and there are two tabs. And if I zoom in here, I've got some good soft natural light. See, if we zoom in, you should see underneath these slots are little tabs, right? There's two of them. And so when this pedal is installed, when the lid is originally installed onto the, where's my, looking for my zoom here. When the pedal is installed, normally this top cover, the turquoise part, the bottom is sort of the tabs are placed into these open slots in the back, and then you normally finish installing it by pushing down on this end, and there's one slot here, little narrow slot, and a tab there. And this one has, although they do not always have this, I like, if I'm going to open up a rheostat, I like this because some of them have a little rim that goes all the way around and it holds them very well, but uninstalling them, they're supposed to, the top basically slides off the bottom, and they can sometimes be stuck. You can get them open, they're just a bit more of a hassle to do, but not the end of the world. So again, double checking, I am not plugged in. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take a small screwdriver and I'm going to come here and what I'm trying to do is sort of push back on this bottom. You can see here I'm sort of pushing and you can lift up here. Another way to do it is you can actually, not one, but two screwdrivers, if that's even more helpful. Make sure that this thing is not going to fly off of your counter or table. You may have someone hold it. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to push this away from the outer turquoise steel because, that little tab is in that slot. So this is going to help me lift up, and then I'm going to push back. In fact, I may push up against the base of my machine to give me a little leverage here. And let's see here. It actually would probably benefit from three hands. So what else can you do? You can come here and sort of wedge the screwdriver in like that and then pull up, and there it comes. Shouldn't be that difficult. The only thing that would really prevent it from opening at all is if it's had issues with rust. This one was a little sticky because, of course, this is steel, and it looked like, I don't know if it was nickel-plated steel or what, but you can see some corrosion there, which may have caused it to be a little sticky. Now, when you get ready to open this, okay, it's not hard now because this is where the tension is. You can turn this up, but then pull toward you, pull to the left, right? Because the tabs are really designed. It's not a hinge; they're just tabs there. So I kind of lifted up and sort of pulled out this way, and out it came. Well, it did not give me a lot of resistance. So let's see what has been lurking in this foot pedal since 1961. Well, nothing out of the ordinary so far. I see dust bunnies collected here. That's easy enough to remove. Fortunately, the bottom still has its rubber feet. After all these years, they have not cracked. They have not dry rotted to the point where they crumbled away. Some of these didn't have rubber feet at all. I mean, some of them just had the little round metal feet, and it would, potentially slide. So I like that the rubber feet are here. Now you can attempt to clean these rubber feet, but I would not do anything but maybe water. If you start putting cleaners, remember cleaners work by chemistry, and I don't know that this old these old rubber tabs are really interested in having harsh cleaners put on them. They're tired, but they're still working, so maybe a little cleaning up. In fact, I wonder what a dry cotton swab will do. Well, it doesn't remove any of the staining, but again, that's not really part of the aesthetics of your machine per se. All right, so with the dust here, you can remove this dust. Now, notice on the bottom, I believe I'm probably looking at maybe a light surface of rust. This is not heavily corroded at all. I mean, we're talking, you know, very minimal here. I don't find a need to you know, strip it or paint it or anything. I really personally don't. I've never seen them rusted that bad. What you might do is along the edge here, or certainly along this edge where you're going to put this back, you might want to come in with some very fine sandpaper. Just get some of that rust off, or at least clean it off with some alcohol. Maybe I'll do that with my isopropyl alcohol. That's just to help you get the, you know, it makes it easier to release. Okay. Now let's see what's going on down in here. This is a very typical thing of what you might see after, how long has this been? More than 60, pushing 65 years. And so we see dust bunnies. Now this is something that is it's very important to get this out. Now you can take, if you want, you can take a vacuum cleaner, or a shop vac even if you really want a loud vacuum cleaner, and you can come in and simply run your vacuum around here very gently. Do not smack or press onto any of these wires. This device has existed without, as far as I can see, any damage for 65 years. You don't want to be the one that caused the damage. Now, what do I see? I notice more of this sort of carbon, the little buildup of carbon there, soot that I like to call it, and I'll be cleaning that. But the first thing I want to do is go ahead and use a vacuum. Now, if you don't have your vacuum out, you can take, and I would do this with a little isopropyl to help, you can start pulling the dust bunnies out, and they will stick to your, and you can see that here, they will stick to, wow, they will stick to your cotton swab. Sometimes, but remember, you may not be able to get all of it, and you know, in for a penny, in for a pound here, folks. So let's go ahead, and we'll go ahead and I'll get the vacuum out. It will take me very little time to do. I mean, we're not vacuuming a lot here, but it's just going to make sure that you get more of the dust out, maybe dust that you can't see that's lurking, you know, somewhere under this lovely porcelain holder of electrical wire. I'll give you that. That's about as technical as I'll get. There is a formal name for it. I just haven't gone in and looked at the service manual for that. But this porcelain housing, you want to make sure that you treat it very gingerly along with these wires. Okay, so I got out the vacuum here, and you can see this is not really a big deal. Make sure you have no screws or bolts or any small precious parts that are anywhere close to your vacuum, or you'll be on an unnecessary hunt. So I'm going to come here and notice I don't have to touch anything. I'm getting, you know, a lot of this stuff is coming right out. It's very loose. Again, don't touch your wires. Don't touch the housing. Okay, I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to graze along the top. And this is a pretty good vacuum, so it's going to pull out most of what is going to be in there. And then, if you're still not sure, you can come behind yourself now with cotton swabs to see, hey, is there anything hanging out down here that doesn't want to come out? And, you know, not much at all. Typically, there should never be, really should never be any grease or oil in here. And because of that, most kinds of dust don't really have anything to stick to. They're just sort of hanging out in there. Because even if a machine was stored in a carry case like this one was, people may have had it out for intermittent periods. Maybe they were working on a sewing project and they didn't always put it back in the closet right in the middle of a sewing project. Maybe they just wanted to get their sewing project done. And let's see where I'm going in here. And just pulling out anything that I really see. What is my goal? My goal is to make sure that any dust, if you had a mouse, I don't think a mouse could even squeeze into this thing, but who knows? You just want to basically clear of any. I've seen them worse than this, where there's a lot of junk that's hanging out on there. You just want to get all of this nice and clean and free of any anything that's going to be touching your wires. Again, this thing, some of you have there are people out there who have old machines that use these without cleaning them. But again, your machine is going to be so much better off. It's going to do a better job for you. And this is not part of normal maintenance, folks. This is a restoration thing. Once this is done, you should be good for a long time. A really long time. All right. So now, what do we have left? I'm going to raise the camera and give you more of an aerial view. And we're going to look at basically cleaning the contact points. Okay. This is also a procedure that is not difficult and it shouldn't take you very long, but just remember that when you do this, you've got to be extra gentle, okay? Because the parts are very durable as long as they're not smashed or bent, because they're not designed to be. So for this particular thing, I am not going to use my regular cotton swabs. I am breaking out the, oh yes, the fancy precision tip. This is an actual Q-tip brand. It's not. Let's do that. They're precision tips, and again, I'm using them because they have narrower points, and most importantly, they do not shred as badly. That's normally not an issue. But I would prefer not to have lots of cotton fibers shredded onto my contact points. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a zoom here. So what have I done? I've actually soaked both ends of my precision tip Q-tip into 99% isopropyl alcohol. Make sure you use that, even if that's not something you would put on your skin with rubbing alcohol because it's too harsh. It's really one of the best things I have found to use for this. Now notice what I'm doing. I'm not touching the wires. They don't need this. There are these little brass contact points. You see the black that has come off there? And I'm just going to, now you may see some black that's fallen onto the white porcelain here. And that's not a problem. You don't need to clean your porcelain. It's not really necessary. There shouldn't be a lot on there. The reason being this arm, right? That wiper arm that sweeps across. When I push, you can't see it, but when you put your foot on the pedal and you start to apply pressure, it wipes. It's like a windshield wiper in a way. It sort of sweeps across all of these points, okay? And once you've gotten over to the final point, then you're really flying, right? Because the entire electrical device, you're getting all of that power. But before then, you're getting different levels of power. And this metal arm is what is making the contact, okay? So I'm going to come over here, and that's all I'm really doing. I'm just taking the swab and just, this stuff will come right off with the alcohol, right? That carbon is not there. It's not gluey if you were to ever see any oil or grease in your foot pedal, I would stop right there, and you really have to question whether you should use it, because someone who did not know better may have put any kind of lubricant down in here, and I really don't. I really question it. Okay, so that's a problem, and so I'm going to keep putting in a clean cotton swab with alcohol and just come here. This is not a really time-consuming thing. Uh, Now, just as I've demonstrated with videos I have made in the last several years, when it came to things like the commutator of a motor, which are copper in that case, you do not need to sand these. Do not sand these, because if you sand these little contact points, you're going to get little bits of brass dust, and you don't want that here. Okay. First of all, you don't need to, because when we clean this soot off, we have just really made the contact points here a lot more efficient. If they were working, electrical devices such as this were designed to work. They knew there would be carbon buildup on them, but you know, this is a restoration or a conservation that I'm doing on this machine, and I know it's not been done since it left the factory. So why not? It's not hard to do, right? It's pretty simple. So that's really all I'm concerned about. And you say, well, is there any on the side? Well, these little brass contact points are not that high. In fact, they're I think they're shorter than a dime even. So you don't need to go around the sides. And as I said, you see this little area here, up here. You see where some of that carbon, that black dust, has gotten on the porcelain housing. Just ignore it. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going anywhere. It'll sit right there. What you're trying to do is that the tops, right? These look like little brass lifesaver candies, right? You just want the tops of those to be clean. Make sure that they are just, in fact, they're probably clean enough. I'm just doing this to keep demonstrating it for you. And that's it. Do not put your cotton swab anywhere down on your wires. That's what the vacuum was hovering above them to remove any dust. And any good vacuum will do that. Do not allow the vacuum or the cotton swab or your fingers or anything else to touch these wires. Leave them alone. They are fine. They're well made. But they were not designed to be bent, pulled, or tugged on. No. Now, the only thing left that I can think of is my little... oops, I forgot one. Did you all see? Did you catch me? Did you say, hey, when I pull over, remember you have to keep the tension on the foot pedal with your hand, because there's also one right here, right? There's one more contact, and that's where when your foot pedal is at rest, that's where it is, but that's still a contact. Now there's a thing on the side here. There's a little piece of steel that you can see. That's sort of like its little stop, right? That too, you want to make sure that you've gotten any carbon off of there. And again, no sandpaper, no grinders, no. That is, not only is that overkill, you really risk damaging this device for no good reason. More is not always more. So I'm just coming over here, and you'll know that the carbon is coming off, because as you go back with a clean cotton swab, you'll see less black coming off of there, okay? And I don't have any screws to tighten. This is just, these are punched or riveted into this block, this porcelain block housing. Okay, so anything left? Well, I can try, but I have to be extra careful. Now, there is a surface on this arm, this wiper arm that I'm calling it a wiper arm. Anyone who's an electrical engineering historian will probably correct me, and please do. If you know a more proper name, I'm always happy to have you add your points in there. That's how we learn. We have to. You either ask a question or you learn how to listen to others. Now, okay. So what am I doing? This arm is very important. Do not bend this arm. Do not yank this arm up. at a steep angle, you're going to bend it and hurt it because it is wanting to stay down. It has to make those contacts. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one end. I took this end of my precision tip cotton swab and I flattened it. Just take you can take the shaft of a screwdriver, just roll on it and press it, and it will flatten out enough. And what am I doing? I'm going to come right here. Again, do not touch these wires. Do not touch those. You can rest one finger here and then take your thumb and just very lightly pull upward just a little bit. And you can come under there and you can see, if I turn in this direction, you can probably see better. You can see where I went under, right? And with the alcohol, and that's that. And that came off very quickly. That was just some, looks like a chrome or nickel plated piece of steel. Okay, so now, right, I've still got plenty of tension. Be very gentle with this arm, and it's still doing what it was doing before, but now it's cleaner. That means you're going to get better contact. It might, and I say this in quotation marks, it might help your foot pedal give you better slow needle control. Sometimes you clean them and it doesn't matter. It doesn't help. And if you're having problems with slow needle control, it's either because of buildup, but even if you clean it, sometimes those devices are calibrated. I'm not aware of any process that we can recalibrate them. It's not like the oven in your kitchen. So for whatever reason, they are sometimes calibrated, and some sewers don't notice and don't care. Some of you just hit the pedal and you go, and I'm in awe of that. But I like slow needle control. That's why I really like carbon pile foot pedals. But again, this pedal was built strong and tough. These rheostat, as they are called, they are strong, they're robust, and if you take care of them, they should continue working for you. And if you do have the needle control from it that you like, then hunky dory, you're good to go. Now, one thing to remember, I think I've mentioned this before, any foot pedal that is not electronic, and that includes all of the rheostat pedals, all of the carbon pile pedals, or any other pedal that you can think of that is not electronic, you always want to be sure that your pedal, I'm going to show you, well, I'll show you how this reinstalls. It's very simple, but it might be helpful for you to see. So remember, here's the part of the pedal you normally don't see because your foot's on the other side. I'm going to take this, right, and make sure you hold it securely. You've got the two slots here, right, and we got our two tabs. And we're just going to come forward and make sure that the tabs are lined up with the slots. Okay, and how will you know? Well, right now, it may not be evident. I'll zoom in here to see if that shows up any better for you. Right here, you will notice that the tabs are starting to appear through these slots, or you can see the reflection on that metal, right? So if I take it off again, take it off, right? You note that the slots look like that when they're empty. So when you put this in, right, you're going to start to see metal appear where there was just light coming through those slots. And you'll notice I've got metal appearing. I can see the slots. You say, yeah, but as you keep moving it, we're not seeing it because the tabs are not fully in the slots yet. They're lined up and they're sort of in there. So what's left? Well, there's not much left to do. We're going to come around the other side, zoom back out. Okay, so now we're back over the same place we were when we first took out this piece. Now, before I put it back, because I know hopefully one of you will notice, I had mentioned you may not ever have to open your foot pedal again. This is not something that you're going to do all the time, but you can try. I don't like, if you ever sand anything metal, you want it to be, this plate, this bottom plate, it needs to be away from your pedal, uninstalled, and don't be anywhere near the electrical parts, okay? You don't want metal dust near anything that's conducting electricity, all right? But I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm taking, I just dipped a regular cotton swab here, and what am I doing? Look what I'm doing. I'm taking the rust off. That rust is surface rust. It formed because the steel has been exposed to, heck, just household humidity. And I don't even know if these were nickel plated. Maybe what they may have done is simply used steel on this bottom plate, and they probably put a thin film, a very thin film of machine oil, right? A lot of things that are made of metal that come out of factories have that, but over time, it's not enough. So that's basically all I'm doing, and I'm doing it just to make sure that, whoops, see, I was popping that out. I'll go ahead and finish what I was doing here. It's mainly so that if it has to come out again, it can. And it's rust because it's really, well, it's the color of rust, right? Now, surface rust, as you see here, comes off pretty darn easily. If the rust does not come off, that means you have rust that is deeper into the metal, and that can happen. Depends on where that machine has been stored. Some people do horrible things to their sewing machines. It makes for a lot of extra effort and restoration work. All right, so from the top, put my alcohol up so I don't knock it over. All right, so I'm going to come back. Make sure you. This only goes in one way. Remember, if you do it backwards, and it can happen if you're not paying attention. You're like, oh, I'm trying to put 2 tabs in one slot. That's not going to work. Okay, so here's our 2 tabs. I'm coming back, keeping it. I'm just dipping down just a bit, right? And I can see, and maybe you can see if I zoom in for you, right? So you can see as I come in here, you start to see those tabs begin to fill those slot spaces visually, right? And you see it as I'm turning, you can see that, right? And just keep the bottom piece of metal level, okay? And it doesn't matter if they're not, as long as they're lined up and starting to go into these slots, that's fine. They don't have to be, they can't be fully in yet because you're not done. And you're not done because you gotta get the front part complete. So I'm gonna start working down, and you're gonna get resistance here. Remember, it's held under tension. That's really all that's holding it. This tab is going into that slot, but it has to have tension because if it didn't, well, it wouldn't work very well. Do not oil or grease this because that oil or grease doesn't need to be in the electrical parts. Now watch, I'm pushing down, and if I have it lined up correctly, let's see what happens. And plop, and there you see it. That should not go anywhere. And we can go back, and now when you look here, you see, of course you see it. You see both tabs are now in their slots. If this fights you and you're struggling and it's not working, something is not aligned properly. So again, listen to what the machine, or in this case, the foot pedal, is saying to you. Analog devices actually communicate with us. It's just many of us have forgotten how they communicate because we haven't been working with analog in so long. We get very used to things that are digital, such as the cam and the smartphones that we all use. I use them too. So again, that is essentially another cleaning, okay, of the foot pedal of a white brand machine from the early 60s. And it doesn't matter if yours is turquoise or pink or white or black or what color it is. This same procedure applies to many of these pedals, okay? Now, you're going to hear a sound, okay? But that's not like something crying out for lubrication. That's just the sound it makes as it's going across. So our foot pedal has checked out. We now know that it is clean. we now know that the contact points have been cleaned. We also know, based on visual inspection from what we can see, you can't see the whole thing, but it does not appear to have any damage. If you see any cracks in that porcelain housing of any kind, do not use it. Do not try to glue the cracks in the porcelain. No, because any glue that you use will begin to melt as the petal warms, because these petals, they get warm, which is why they have feet. And as I've mentioned in quite a few videos, and was beginning to mention before I distracted myself, that if you do not have an electronic pedal, those can get sometimes electronic pedals will actually get a little bit warm, but nothing like these. If a pedal that you are using that is analog, rheostat or carbon pile, they will get warm. They should be, you should still be able to hold them, right? If they're hotter than what you can comfortably hold, there may be an issue, and I would consider replacing it. It's great to have the original pedals. They're designed to last, but remember, because this is electrical, if there is any doubt that your pedal has other issues, if it works intermittently, if it makes a weird, strange sound, especially when it gets warm, I would consider replacing it. Okay, now if you love the retro looks of the original pedal and it's turquoise and it came with the machine, that's great. I once replaced an analog pedal that had been dropped and the porcelain had broke, but it was a gorgeous pedal and it was part of the history of the machine. The machine was rare, so I included it, right? I took all the wiring off and put a label that says do not use, right? But I basically included the shell of basically the shell parts, just so that they could look at it and it was part of the history of the machine, but it had a brand new pedal and was able to function properly as it was intended. So you have just spent 30, if you are still with me, you have just spent the ticker just hit 37 minutes as I've been talking about an analog rheostat pedal for a 1961 white branded sewing machine. But some of you may not have this machine or this color machine or even this year, but you might have a rheostat pedal. And I hope that this was helpful to you. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel. There is no cost to doing that. And if you would love to support my channel, please feel free to visit on the link of Buy Me a Coffee, where you can donate to the channel, which is so appreciated if you have found this video helpful or any of the videos helpful. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.